Do you think men are being taught to be weak right now?
Yes, definitely.
What?
No, it's worse than being taught. They're being enticed toward that in every way.
Tell me more.
And punished for not doing it. Well, they're enticed towards it by, well, the insistence, for example, that there are modes of less worthy being than the masculine, let's say, because masculinity itself is toxic to its core, a manifestation of patriarchal oppression, that male ambition is nothing but a manifestation of the force of tyrannical power that not only oppresses the oppressed, but rapes the world. Jesus, brutal. So there's that. And then any deviation in that direction, the desire of a 4-year-old boy to play with guns, for example. Well, we have to rub that out. It's like, oh, well, do you? You're going to rub out your son's ability to point and shoot, are you? That's what it'll do his whole life. You're going to go to war with that in your feminine virtue. Toxic masculinity. It's like, great, harpy warfare. It's awful. It's awful. But it's part of this belief, and that's derived from this unholy nexus of agreement between the postmodernists and the meta-Marxists, that the only story is one of power, and men wield the power, and therefore all masculine virtue is identical to the striving for power, and that's immoral in its essence. It's basically the most pathological brandishers of that doctrine presume that male virtue is indistinguishable from malevolence. And so the best you can do if you're a man is to castrate yourself. And
oh, God.
Well, that's what's happening in the culture. It's literally happening. It's not even symbolic. That's the offering. That's the ultimate offering to the great mother. That's a great way. Freud knew this. Jung knew this. This is well mapped out. This is well mapped out in the psychological and symbolic spheres. That's the fall of man. Yeah, that's being played out like in spades, rapidly, miraculously. Yeah, it's very, very bad. Very, very dark.
So I know that if we don't find a way to make men, I won't even say strong. I think strong is a part of it, but
invite them to be strong.
Invite them to become what healthy masculinity looks like. Now the question becomes, from where I'm standing, I will give you the image that I use a lot. I use this in business all the time. When things are getting really hard, I imagine myself in a loincloth, covered in the blood of my enemies with a big fucking sword in my hand.
Yeah.
And that imagery helps me stay focused, be strong, be hard when I need to be hard. Not that I'm, imagining killing indiscriminately, but that I need to be able to step into aggression. And aggression is the right word.
Right.
And when I...
that's why Andrew Tate is so attractive to young men.
Dude. So much. He's utterly fascinating to me. 90% of what he says scares me to death because it actually is toxic masculinity. But 10% is so good that I'm like, you cannot dismiss this kid.
People are complicated, eh? But the thing is that the more, so the perversion of warrior in some ways is psychopath. And you know that because you watch like mafia movies. So we all know this, okay? But there's a dreadful attraction in untrammeled aggression for men who are so crushed that they're castrated. That's a good way of thinking about it. So the attraction that the Andrew Tate persona, let's say, has on those young men, there's actually a lot of that that's positive. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the right target, but there are creative ways of being wrong that are helpful. Right. Now, you see better examples of that, precisely that, in people like Jocko Willink and David Goggins and Joe Rogan. Like, these are tough guys, but they're not.
They don't have the sex appeal, though. That's one thing I'll give Andrew Tate. Like,
but that's partly because they don't want it.
Yeah,
you see,
fair.
But it isn't that they couldn't have it. Like, it's that they've decided that everything in its proper place. Rogan has a family, you know, so that's where he's put it. And hey, man, good work to him. You know, and that sex appeal that Andrew Tate has, that's the sex appeal of the short-term mater. That's the psychopathic sex appeal. That's the dark tetrad sex appeal. It's shallow. It's shallow, and it will get him in trouble. I mean, it's already got him in trouble.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to, unless he, you know, wises up, precisely that, it'll get him in trouble. You know, and I'm not trying to take him apart. I mean, I think what he did with his capitalization on female sexuality is absolutely unforgivable. But, well, that's enough of that. I mean, that was beyond the pale in my estimation. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. Now, you know, if you're a basement dwelling incel, the mere fact that you could imagine ever doing that, sort of like you imagining yourself, you know, in a loincloth covered with blood, the mere idea that a man, which is what you are, could even manage doing that, having a harem, you know, of women who are offering sexual favors at your beck and call. Well, that's a much higher calling than castrated, obese, resentful loser who can't leave the basement, right? Because that's an even low, I suppose, you know, when you're in the lowest rung of hell, the rung right above looks like heaven. And it's up.